Has Jimmy G underachieved in the postseason?
I'm glad you had that reaction because you know how absurd that sounds. Hell no, he hasn't underachieved. Look, everyone wants to be the reason why you win. Winning is the ultimate goal, but you get to the after party a little sooner when you know you're the reason. So Jimmy's not going to be first to the party, but damn it, there's a party for him. This is a guy who goes out there and does exactly what is asked of him. So what is that? Sometimes it's your call, only 8 times to throw the football. But guess why? We are dominating in the run game. So like a young Tom Brady, as you mentioned, Jimmy G's in a situation where being a game manager is actually a positive thing. Whatever is asked of him, he is doing, and he's doing it at an exceptional level, to the point of all the quarterbacks since 1960. I'm talking about single bar leather helmets, your kind of style, your guys back in those days. Jimmy G is number 2 all-time in points per game scored. Think about that. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes, who gets all the credit. Number 3 is Tom Brady. And 4th is Drew Brees. Yes, I just said Jimmy G allows his team, whether it's with his arm or handing the ball off and protecting the football, to the tune that they have the 2nd most points scored in the modern era. So you got to respect what this guy is doing. He's making sure the train keeps rolling down the tracks.
No, he hasn't underachieved, but it's telling that Kyle Shanahan is running the ball so much. Where did Kyle Shanahan come before he went to San Francisco? He was in Atlanta. He didn't do this to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was slinging the thing all over the field. Now, they're running the ball very well, but he comes out, we gotta start the game off with the run. We gotta start. When he was in Atlanta, when he should have run the ball, he was still throwing the ball. So for me, that says I don't think Kyle Shanahan really trusts and believes that if need be, Jimmy G can get it done. If I can limit his attempts throwing the ball, now the turnovers, that wouldn't come into play. That's what concerns me is I don't believe Kyle Shanahan believes if I need Jimmy G to win the game, and he did do it against New Orleans, but I just go back to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was throwing the ball all over the field, and he doesn't throw it at all with Jimmy G.
I'm going to say no, he's not underachieving, but I will say Jason Whitlock trying to paint the Kansas City Chiefs as underdogs now.
Oh, yeah, he's midweek.
That ship has sailed. You are underachieving on your attempt to try to change that narrative. Patrick Mahomes is coming into the game as such a big name and what this represents for the future of football. And then there's Garoppolo. And I think, again, when you look at the body of work, he has done everything he's been asked to do. Whether they trust him, whether they believe he's the biggest winner of all time, whatever it is that the game plan is called for this 49ers team with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, he has delivered. You can't say that's underachieving, even if the stats don't sit there and scream at you, this guy is a megastar for your team. So, again, when you're looking at what this team is endeavoring to do going into this Super Bowl game, it is to play business as usual. Right. Control the ball, tempo the game, run the ball. If we're having success running the ball, we don't have to throw it. I don't care if it's Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Mahomes.
So
I don't care.
So play quarterback then for the 49ers?
Correct.
No, he can't.
Correct.
No, he can't. And
I
this
can hand it off. The
whole notion that anybody could quarterback this 49ers team to this point because their running game is so good, I reject that totally.
If we had to throw it.
Look, listen, TJ, you made a very interesting point about Matt Ryan and how Kyle Shanahan handled Matt Ryan and that Atlanta. You can learn from your mistakes. You can learn from your mistakes. And then the other thing I would say to the two defensive guys that I know y'all understand, you can't run the ball, or the best way to run the ball is when the safeties fear your quarterback. You can't just walk up in there in the box. So to me, for them to have been this dominant running the ball, that to me says whatever's on that San Francisco tape tells the defensive coordinator and the safeties, you better be careful.
Yeah, if you don't respect his arm, then you're just going to shorten the acreage and you're just going to load up the box and do what the Kansas City Chiefs were able to do to the Tennessee Titans and shut down Derrick Henry because of the lack of respect for Ryan Tannehill's arm and the daring of you beating us with that same arm. So you look at this team, and this entire year, Jimmy G has had moments where he looked like the electrifying Matt Ryan of yesterday. You see 10 games of tape of Jimmy G with a passer rating over 100. You don't get that just by being TJ rolling out of bed and LaVar trying to play quarterback. You actually have to be a real quarterback. Yeah, so as a defender, I respect an offense that has learned from his own mistakes. I know who my coach's daddy is. Mike Shanahan is going to run that football. And that's what they're doing to the success of maybe winning the championship.
All right, let's ask this question, though. This is where I kind of think I'm on the other side. Does Jimmy G need to throw for more than 200 yards, have a relatively big game in order for them to win on Sunday?
I say no. I say no. I remember the most prolific passing game in Super Bowl history was in a loss, Tom Brady. 4 of the top 8 passing games in the Super Bowl are losses by those quarterbacks. So for us to go out there with some arithmetic and say, basically, you have to do this and you'll win, the numbers don't suggest that that's going to actually measure up. So I look at this game basically as shortening the game by using your running game and your defense. This team is constructed differently than the Atlanta Falcons team with Kyle Shanahan as offensive coordinator. Use your running game. We were just talking about this last night. Off leverage, the motions, everything that they use is deception. And then they hit you in the mouth or they angle you. Please use all your attributes and don't get locked into just passing numbers.
It really will depend on how the game is played. If Kansas City is able to stop the ball and or they're able to put up points on that defense, he's going to have to throw for yards. They're not just going to be able to. If Kansas City is Kansas City and they're throwing the ball like they normally do, you're not going to be able to just hand the ball off because why did Derrick Henry only have 69 yards? Tennessee got in the hole. They really couldn't run the ball as much as they wanted to. So if they can just make San Francisco punt the ball 3-4 times and Kansas City plays Kansas City football, he's going to have to throw for 20 yards.
But they weren't in the hole. I mean, they were up 10 on them. Tennessee had the lead, and then Kansas City did what Kansas City does.
And then it was like a boxer. He lost the first 3 rounds, and then he swept the next 7.
Yeah. They had so much success quickly that their ability to adjust when Kansas City came storming back led to them panicking and not sticking to the game plan that got them that lead in the first place. I'm with TJ on this. I think that the way the tempo of the game, the scoring will dictate if Jimmy Garoppolo has to be a 200-yard passer during the course of the game. You look at what he brings to the table and what this 49ers team brings to the table, they are going to try to run the ball, and they're going to try to run the ball efficiently. Their misdirection, their zone read running plays, they're all going to be plays that create problems for this defensive front for Kansas City, which should in turn open up the back end of that defense for Kansas City. One good point to think about here is these teams met in the most important preseason game of the year. Now, some people say preseason doesn't matter, but we all know which one matters. Third game. Third game matters. These guys met in the third game of the preseason. Jimmy threw for 188 yards. He outperformed Mahomes in that game. These guys are familiar with each other. Even though it's preseason, they're familiar. I don't think he has to unless he needs to.
I think you and TJ are biting your tongue, and you know, I hope I don't regret this statement. Kansas City's going to score points. That's why this man's going to have to throw for more than 200 yards, because Andy Reid off a bye in a Super Bowl moment is going to have something special laid out. Kansas City is not going to, I don't believe Kansas City is going to fall down 17 points or anything crazy like they had the previous 2 games. Let's remember in Andy Reid's other Super Bowl appearance, he had, in my opinion, the Patriots where he wanted them. Donovan McNabb threw up and jacked the game up.
T.O. got hurt.
But T.O. played in that game and ball. Donovan, but I'm talking about they had a chance to finish New England.
But he didn't.
And didn't. The quarterback choked. This quarterback's not going to choke. Andy Reid, coming off a bye, is going to have a game plan that will put points on the board. And Kyle Shanahan's great, and he has his dad backing him up. This is Andy Reid's moment, man. This is the chance for him to really cement himself as a legendary coach. I don't think he's going to blow it. Jimmy G's he ain't going to get away with 130 yards. He ain't going to get away with 90, 80 yards. He's going to have to throw for more than 200 to win this game.
They've had blowouts by him having lesser performances by the numbers because of the tempo, because of how it dictates it. It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts when a team is able to run 5 yards, 7 yards, 12 yards, 9 yards. You're like, hell, it's so defeating, more than physically. It's like mentally destroying you in the moment because you can't stop it. I had an Intel dinner last night. Now, I'm not going to snitch anybody out, But the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know this for a fact, are concerned that they're not going to be able to slow down this running game to the tune of it's going to be 30-plus points necessary to win this game.
They can do that.
They could do it. They could do that in a quarter, let alone in the 4 quarters. But that running game, I'm trying to tell you, as a defensive player, I played against Shanahan's offenses with lesser offensive linemen, with lesser running backs. And let me tell you one thing. When you sit there, you got your hand in the dirt, and you don't know which angle he's going to use, and more importantly, shield you from the linebacker overflowing, it's just beautiful calculus to watch. And that's what this running game is right now doing. It's going to pose a threat.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.